Gio Pecora, thanks very much for joining me today. How are you?
Everything is great. Thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure, unexpected, and absolutely great to have this opportunity to speak
Where
with you today.
where in the world are you right now?
At the moment, I'm in Europe, splitting my time between Europe and US. Most of the time across Europe, where there is, I think, the core of the things I'm doing right now. So sometimes a bit more esoteric. I mean, research, development, and then most of the business run in US.
That's awesome. So thanks very much for coming on the show. This would be as kind of unscripted as possible. So for those of you not familiar with your work, uh, walk me through, and this is kind of the easy question, right? Walk me through some memory lane. You've done some very cool stuff in cyber. Uh, Maybe walk me through your initial interest in the space, how you got into doing that, and maybe some pivotal moments, things that you remember, because people remember stories, right? So things that you remember, like what were the pivotal moments in your career, things that you uncovered, things that you work with. I know you worked on some very large scale projects and so on. Let's get started.
Well, pivotal moment. I think it's really seamless with mice because I think every time I said and I achieved something in my career was a pivotal moment. So I think the most important one, and I don't want to bore the people looking at that because I'm not so young. So if I was saying how many times I not changing my mind, but trying to push me further and further, it would be a very long conversation. But long story short, I think that was the moment when the cybersecurity started, because around, let's say, 2005, let's say after 2001, because for sad things happened, and I was working for the government at that moment. And the point is that we needed to, we as a team, needed to realize quickly that there was the need of people trying to be specialized in threat intelligence first, and then cybersecurity come just after. So there was the need to collect information quickly, try to analyze information. Nothing new right now, but in the past was not so easy, mainly because, well, hot topic, there was no distributed database, and information were stored in kind of chunk, and just they were not available to everyone. So to understand how important it is to share information quickly, to extract actionable intelligence and valuable insight, that was, I think, the beginning of everything. That then go through network operation, that pretty soon transformed in cybersecurity operation, when there was the possibility to understand everything that come after a local firewall. So why things were happening, what the attack surface is, how an attack can be blocked. And in the past, all those things were managed locally. So this was, I think, the beginning of everything. The shift between, not really the shift, but the moment when institution understood that they needed to cooperate in synergy with entrepreneur and companies.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because that shift happened fairly quickly to realize, as you mentioned, that they have to review not just whatever is happening internal within their perimeter, but also what's happening external. And I always bring up the story of, if, let's say you own a house and somebody comes over and tries your door, right?
To break
in. It'd be very beneficial to know whether it was somebody who just randomly walked down the street and tried your door, or it's a very targeted attack, meaning that somebody purposely is looking to get into your house because they know that they have certain, maybe, crown jewels or things inside your home. So the context of that attack is very important, right?
Yeah, I mean, not just this, because when you think about your apartment, and someone trying to break in, it's already a crime. But I think also to understand that you have, to go around in city suburbs with a car is not a crime. You're just going out, driving your car, okay? It's not a crime. You can do it. But just to understand that at a specific moment in time during the day, the same car is just passing in front of your house at a specific moment that it's even a little before committing a crime, but it's just try to understand why. And this insight can be very important, So I think that's the really the borderline between threat intelligence and actionable intelligence in terms of indicator of compromise. So that was exactly the moment and the shift you described absolutely in an excellent way between the fast change, of government and let's say institution and experts.
In Gio, the operative word in this entire description is actionable.
Yeah.
And that is the kind of the secret sauce behind the company you founded and behind a lot of these technologies. It's one thing to collect a whole slew of information out there, open source intelligence, but then to figure out which one is this out of this entire massive amount of corpus of data is actually actionable is really the secret sauce, right?
Yeah, I think actionable is the opposite of entropy, because the problem is the time frame that is very narrow every time. Now, time is everything. It's the new currency. I always say this. So I think it's not important to have an incredible amount of data, but it's absolutely critical to understand what are the, say again, actionable data, the things you can use for the purpose. And the purpose is not a generic purpose. It's a purpose that is made of priorities. This is a bit the SOC life, the Security Operations Center life, right?
And can you give me, for those who are not familiar, can you give me some examples? Maybe we obfuscate some of what actually happened, of things that you come across that were very critical to that company, to that organization, that when you say actionable, so just so we can make it more tangible for people to understand, maybe do you have some stories you can share of things that happened that was uncovered and then that the company was able to, again, take action on in that information?
Well, I have a couple of things in my mind. One is related to people in general, so was related to people's privacy, and and the other one it's related to company that where it was the moment of the WannaCry boom. I think everyone remembers it. I was at that time working in UK. Was a fantastic experience leading very dream team. I am lucky because I always working with dream team. So I hope I will keep doing this for the rest of my life. And no one was absolutely aware that we were monitoring Bitcoin. So in a Security Operations Center, why we should spend time monitoring Bitcoin? Because at that time we were spotting some path, trying to understand that there are different type of indicators that can be used for a quick correlation and understand that something was about to happen. The specific time is still possible to look at this history, right? For some reason, I had a meeting with Chris and Kyle, two amazing guys from UK, very close friends. And I say, guys, we should send out an alert to customer, because we don't have to give out like a IP1, but we should warn them that something wrong is happening, because we knew that in the underground, people were monitoring Bitcoin as well. And because the ransomware is paid in Bitcoin, to have such a spy should have been an incredible opportunity for those people to make profit. And was not 100%, we didn't save the world, but most of the customers started creating backups and things like this. So this is exactly, I think, an example of actionable intelligence, and information that can give to people the possibility to take action in their virtual home, the company or whatever environment it is. And if the effort is worth, I think we don't want to create alarm without nonsense. But at that time, there were companies that had a very lower impact on this huge ransomware waves. And I think this describes pretty much well what to me is the actionable intelligence.
Absolutely. And now things have really progressed, right? So in terms of open source intelligence, in terms of collections, so we have government entities collecting information. There is enterprise, and there's kind of the trade-off between privacy and security, right? So what do you collect? How do you then take action? And then if you ever watched the movie Minority Report, where they were, and you know where I'm going with this, where they were collecting all this information, and they could tell they will arrest you prior to committing the crime because they knew that, there was. So my point of this is that are we on our way to have a Minority Report kind of system in the government level where they can see, okay, this activity is about to lead to something nefarious?
Well, thank you very much for this question because I'm guilty, and you are not the first person that suggested me to see this movie, and I think I will love it. I didn't see it. I will, and it's on my task list, honestly, and I will do. Maybe not today, but I promise I will do. The point is that there are linear indicators that go into a specific, give specific indicators. Of course, the variables are a lot. Just please allow me to express a concern that is related to this question. And then if you don't feel I answered properly, I will go deeper into them. I think just the real problem is not about intelligence trying to understand what's happening, what can happen, and what will happen. Because around 80s and 90s, the first thing that was circulated on BBS and underground community, many people maybe need to Google for BBS, but again, I say not so newbie or young. But the point, there were the manual of CIA, how they used to pursue people, what they do. So whatever is too much schematic can never be the answer, because the skilled people will use a workaround to avoid it. So that's the main point. But what I wanted to say is that the real problem is that now that it's very, not super easy, but it's every day more easy to track users' behavior with social network, with what they post and everything. I'm not here to do any rhetorical things about social. But the point is that we can reflect your question as a potential warning for, mainly for kids, and that now some social network is forbidden by law in some countries. I don't know if it's everywhere, but I think they are taking this direction. So yes, now as it happened for some political event, I don't want to enter into detail, and nevertheless in politics. But the point is that now the mobile became really now, right now, a vector for companies to add specific content to people that are absolutely reacting to this content. Is not to predict their behavior, what they will do, as you say in Minority Report, but it's even worse, I think, is try to push people to do something those company wants. Yeah. So this is an amazing point, Gio. So you are, what you're describing, and I'll rephrase it just for the listeners. Yeah.
Just to summarize it, what you're saying is in Minority Report, and nobody's going to hold you responsible for not watching it.
Right.
They were predicting where you're going to commit the crime, but in this particular case, you mentioned that the vector today is affecting people's behavior, and maybe their thoughts, and maybe forcing them to take action by using the kind of the mobile vector to showcase, through maybe social media or through other means, to showcase information or thought provoking or thought changing ideas to commit, basically making them to commit commit some change in their behavior. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I think this is pretty obvious. If you think the history of emoji, this is something we are using, but from an AI perspective, it was very difficult to understand the so-called sentiment of a phrase. So, company created a small specific code that can be a smile, that can be when you're sad, we are crying, when you're mad, just to label the message you were sending to your device. So it was just the way to help the artificial intelligence to understand your mood, and by your mood to understand if you are aggressive, if you're happy, if you are sad. And more than often, this was related to a link or to something that you are shared. Oh, look, it's so cool this, it's so horrible that. And this is creating a lot of useful information for company. And I don't want to say that company are guilty, because we should terrible things. We should read the terms of service, and I think it's something so boring. I mean, privacy is not accepting the cookies on the web page that now is just fresh in your life and say this yes, this not, yes, this not. But Amazon did an incredible nice thing. They put in their licenses in terms of service the zombie apocalypse. I don't know if you heard about this news, but you can Google it. Yes. Just Google for Amazon zombie apocalypse. They were just creating a specific clause on the contract that say, hey, if some extraterrestrial form of life arrived to her, and the zombie apocalypse began, so you are allowed to use your product for free. That's why, because there was an incredible nice provocation to people to say, hey guys, you don't even realize that I just added the zombie apocalypse on something that you should click yes accept. And this is history, so it would be nice if after this call you can, or now you
I will, and I will provide a link to that as well in the podcast description. It's so interesting, but then can you blame people? I mean, these terms, the service conditions or whatever, the agreement. First of all, it's very long. It's very legal. Like a lot of times they force you. The companies force you to click to kind of review and say I agree prior to using, and so in that moment the user just wants to get to where they want to get to. And then what happened is, a lot of times I've been getting these on a regular basis. A lot of times they send you saying, hey, we've changed our terms and conditions. But they don't tell you what the changes were. Yeah. And there's no way for you to do a diff command to find out what the difference between the kind of the original document and the new one. Who's got time for this?
Yeah, 100%. And this is the problem with the cloud providers. I'm not saying that cloud is a problem, but just to shift a bit the topic, because you are 100% right. It reminds me the famous screenshot on the 386 and 486 personal computer, keyboard not present. Please press F2 to continue. And you will say, Jesus, the keyboard is not there. How can I press F2? So this is more or less the same thing. But the point is that the cloud is the same. We have people, you go to a meeting and offline there are thousands of receipts for succeed on the internet, right? You should do this, you should do that. 99% of startup fails. I don't really know the ratio right now, but the point is that how can you create a company that it's stable if cloud providers are increasing their price suddenly, change their terms of services? So this inequality is eating not just people but also companies and young companies. So there is kind of vicious chain and kind of multi-level that has a root cause that is the lack of time, the not clarity of agreement. And of course, as I said before, time is the most important currency. So unfortunately, I accepted the zombie apocalypse at least a couple of times.
And maybe that's a fair approach. I mean, I would love to, I don't know, it depends if whoever is left after a zombie apocalypse will have a free service. And then with the Amazon resiliency in all the different data centers, I'm sure there's going to be at least a couple of data centers left.
Wow. Funny story.
But it leads me to a perfect segue. You developed a successful SecOps cloud platform. But now your focus is on reducing data gravity. So first, let's kind of define what data gravity is, and what kind of created this shift for you from security operations to data gravity and reduction in that.
Oh yeah, well, not going into technical stuff.
Yes. Well, we can kind of dive
just for matter of time. I'm absolutely sure you're super skilled and in many areas more than me. The point is that have you ever tried to convert a JSON file into a comma separated value file? It will explode. In the past that was the zip bomb. That was the funny file you were trying to unzip, and your computer practically not.
And why is that, Gio? Just a quick question, just for that example, for people not familiar. So JSON is the kind of format, almost like the de facto format for interoperability between system to import API, use it, and import data and so on. So why is the conversion from a JSON to a comma delimiter file creates such an explosion?
This was a very random example, but essentially it's because the JSON often comes in nested format. So you are just doing economy of space, creating like a sequence, like a hierarchical structure that incorporate information. Then maybe you have a mathematical tool that need to expand this information into a table, and every table and every row should have an header, and every line should have some value. And this is becoming, huge. So what is data gravity? Is the need of having a lot of information and more information and more information and more information every single time to do normal operation. And this means that there are two things that are critical right now in any operation that is cloud-based, also local-based. I'm not standing against cloud, because again, I come from founding a company that works in the cloud and another one that partially works in the cloud as well, but also on-prem. The point is that I think that there is a huge increase of entropy, and all this data requires a lot of energy, and there is an impact in terms of energy consumption. So let's think about sustainable operation, and also in terms of money. Think about the false positive in cybersecurity, right? The false positive is an information that usually, if you are thinking about endpoint detection or response service, EDR, traditional, whatever is on your asset, on your computer, it's sending out some telemetry, it's sending out some log, and these logs are processed in the cloud. And then if the cloud, according to some logic, realizes that it is a false positive, is discarding or treating in some way. So it's exactly if you have to go to the restaurant and every single time order a specific dish, and then you have to pay for it. The waiter comes with the dish and you say, okay, I don't like it, every single day. So the point is that there are so redundant information and a lot of things that can be saved at the source rather than you utilize your bandwidth and your money, computational power. All those things are impacting a lot. So that's why I think that the data gravity is becoming a serious problem. And why? You see that companies are giving you hot storage, cold storage. This means that they are trying to share your data somewhere and then just provide you some quick response according to some logic that you have to define. Of course, if you're skilled, if you're a cloud engineer or whatever, you can understand that to share information with data centers that are close to each other, it's easier. And then to decompress information, it's more expensive. And at the end of the game, you have all this information, you need to find a little network, and then you have to pay a lot of money because you don't know where to look at. So, this challenge against data gravity started in 2014 so far. And, I was working together with two great professors at the Italian Institute of High Performance Computing. And we did, let's give a try. Let's try to compress some data. It was a bit like cryogenesis at that time, was 2014. So it was, let's try to compress the data and let's give to an AI engine just let's task the AI to decompress those data, not brute forcing the data, so creating whatever is possible and then, okay, this is a match after 200 years. No. And that was the initial approach that now through generative AI, it's even more possible because we were not trying, and now you cannot try all the possible paths, but you are just creating, there is a routing that guides the artificial intelligence to try to decode the file. Let's say decode means decompress the file in a specific way. So it's a long way. It's a long trip started 10 years ago. And I think this is really what we need because think about the power and the energy that need to be used for doing this. And now the society is relying on things that just are possible until there is energy. For example, cryptocurrency. Think about a big blackout. Okay. So all the cryptocurrency is gone. It's time to address problem in a way that can be solved in a way that is sustainable. Okay. That's why some weeks ago I wrote an article about the what they call it Rose Quartz data center. I mean, their experiment that Microsoft did together with Warner Bros. They are trying to write information into crystals. But why? Because you can store data without energy consumption. Otherwise, your data will be lost. In this way, whatever it happened to the world, or let's think about whatever. Now it's everyone is running to space, right? I hope nothing bad is happening to Earth, but because I don't have a spaceships in my garden, so I really hope that everything is fine. But the point is that the only way to transfer our knowledge first is to incorporate the logic that produces the data, not the data itself. That it's even more, it's just a subsequent event of the logic. But the point is to try to store data in a way that it is possible to save for a long period of time without using energy. And this is the same things that it's happening with energy storage. There are companies investing in rapid storage. Why? Because you can produce all the energy you want, but it's very difficult. It is very not sustainable to collect every day this energy. So people are thinking about physics and gravity. So I don't know if maybe I touched so many topics, but I think a couple of points were pretty much straightforward.
No, absolutely. It's fascinating because you see, you're right. There's a lot of companies are looking at this. And by the way, any big problem is worth, pursuing. Yeah. The idea of data retention over a long period of time, and the key here is without the need for energy to store it is definitely a big problem, and it's one we're solving. I've seen even a new Blu-ray system that will have like the 1000x magnitude of storage. But then again, the problem is, and then you definitely need a lot of energy to write into the Blu-ray, and then the issue is that then you have to have the device that actually reads these Blu-rays, and then you have another forms of energy to extract that information, and so the ability to store data for long-term, and you described that there's two issues here. It's the storage and then also the deduplication of data, meaning the reduction. And that's what you alluded to, that we collect a lot of, as you mentioned, the example with the restaurant, we collect a lot of that unnecessary information, a lot of restaurant data. And that is actually exploding, meaning I think every item, every system today on the enterprise network spits out tremendous amount of data, right? And exponentially it's gone up. Then you look at, cameras, web cameras, video, audio, there's absolute explosion. I've heard the numbers where, they had to come out with new naming conventions for data, after petabytes and so on, because it's just that this there's not enough. And so even the amount of data that we generate as consumers with all these mobile phones, I mean, every JPEG, every raw image is, is about 10 megabytes, and we take out 4K, 8K videos using these devices.
Exactly.
That need to be stored somewhere.
Yeah, and underperform.
And so, but then there's a race also to, I think you can buy a 20 terabyte hard drive today for, I don't know, $150 or $200. So that's.
Yeah, but you are with me. Your drive is at your place. It's not in the cloud because you receive we have the need to have our things, the things that matter to us. I think it's a psychological need together with us. Can be redundant, but after 2 pictures, and now the mobile has 2-3 cameras. You have Google or your Mac saying, I can no longer back up your pictures, so I'm sorry, you have to pay. So it's like it happened in the past with the GSM mobile, right? You were paying per use, and now you pay flat. Even if you don't use your gigabyte, you're paying, it's okay. And then you're entering a website and you listen to an ad, so you pay twice, because once your bandwidth going away, the second time is because you are looking at the ads. So, there should be a balance between all these things. You understand that the company needs to live. So potentially, I think the correct use of every device is what creates this balance. I mean, do I really need to do 2,000 selfies and maybe discard, or maybe to have a 10 account, or can I understand that every single time I'm using my device, I'm sending precious information to elsewhere? For example, Google's recently introduced a Find My Device, pretty much similar to Apple Tag or something like this, but you are using your mobile in a mesh, to help others to find a lost device. So this means that you are no longer just a mobile phone, but you are just a repeater of information all across the network in a specific way. That's nothing bad, It's pretty much useful, but this is impacting on your bills, and you have no other choice. You have to accept this. So I don't know if it's a bit out of scope regarding cybersecurity, but by the way, it's more about the data gravity, 100%.
And so you're attacking the issue from another angle, is to figure out which data is the one that's really valuable, and only store that. And it's really interesting because you, as you mentioned, you were early into this, like 2014. That's quite the visionary to think about, because even back then it was an explosion of data, but a lot of people were just worried about the speed and the increasing the amount of information available to store, but not a lot of companies were looking at how can we deduplicate, how can we reduce that information. So how do you attack that today? What's the underlying technology that you're looking at, and how much progress have you made that you can go back to these companies or individuals and then reduce, as you mentioned, reduce the need for storage?
Well, there are 2 progresses. The second one I will tell you after, if we have time, okay? I think the progress are related to the possibility to have a good balance and distribute information partially locally in the fashion of mesh and OT or IoT, I think the computational power of every single gadget we have right now in your pocket, it's huge. So I think the role of artificial intelligence is to support people to have unbiased information, because they come from the real source, that is the user, not a generic artificial intelligence with mastodontic giant models that, of course, collect information, but collect also biases. So I think the first thing is to have systems that are not all you can eat. they should be tailored. This is the first progress we did, trying to speak with prospect, with customer, and ask what do you really need, what we can separate at the source, and when do you really need the cloud, So having really the micro model as a commodity, something that it's a bit as a proxy, It's something that, okay, this information can be retrieved online, fantastic. Or can we manage is this information useful to the cloud, yes or not? So this is the first pass. And this is a way of compression, even if it's not exactly by definition compression, but by the way, we are decreasing a lot the impact of computational power in the cloud, the necessity to send out information. And then with this mesh that you can just think about rebuild model with the approach we were following starting 2014 as initial approach, but later in the last couple of years, is just to have a tailored system that can address to the cloud just the information that cannot be processed locally. That's the first technical solution. The second technical solution, that is not something I did, at least it's something I'm experiencing. It's related to body chemistry, and I think here Professor Huberman can come here and explain what does it mean to have a dopamine connected to the speed of the network. So it's very difficult for us to have the internet connection of 5-7 years ago right now, because we have this need to have information immediately. So if from one side there are company and people as me that they are trying to make the communication, the computation more sustainable, on the other side, I think we should work on ourselves to understand if we really need those information right now. Just to give you an example, I'm saying there is a huge impact on the environment about the misuse of artificial intelligence. I'm not saying that we don't have to use in the CERN or in the Grand Sasso to spot a neutrino, but do we really need like thousands of deep fake per day and using the same, computational power for things that are completely useless? Right? I mean, just for fun. So I think that we should control the time we spend on our asset, and then we should dedicate ourselves to a more creative process. So those two things that are one technological and applied mathematics, okay, and the other one is just to look at ourselves, I think, understand honestly and biblically if we need all these things that can be dangerous for the environment. In the past, it was the same with alcohol, with tobacco, and everything. Now you pay an additional taxes if you are drinking some sugar. You pay taxes on smoking, and alcohol. It's very well regulated. So when people start to have to understand that something can be wrong for the environment, for the people, the government is taking action, and then it's creating a way to make other form of business. So my answer is split into part. A solution is a technical solution that is, yes, try to consume data locally, use artificial intelligence to have answers in, let's say, with proximity device, okay, but using micromodeling. And the other one is for us to try to avoid spamming information and just do following the politics of all you can eat on the internet or all the new technologies.
So you think there should be a, coming back to your second point, almost like a sugar tax, but AI tax. If you're using AI to generate potentially unnecessary or consume unnecessary type of, and that can be defined by somebody else, then you pay extra, almost like a congestion tax. So you want to go into the city at certain times, you pay extra. And some people would be okay with that. I think the problem is, I don't know if anybody, aside from a limited number of people, actually is aware of the computational requirements that is needed to generate a fake image or to generate. I don't think we just click the button and then nobody really understands what's happening behind the scenes, and that probably requires some either government intervention or the private companies. Again, they can just say, okay, if you want to use our services, this is what you need to do. You need to pay us extra for this type of activity.
Yeah, it will be lovely if this extra will be addressed to save the environment, not to the company. Otherwise, I mean,
or they can plant a tree, right? If they can say, okay, they can say, okay, we will charge that and we'll give that away to a certain chunk of our revenue to maybe do something environmental friendly.
I think in the world there are great examples for just personal experience. IBM, EMC Square. When I was doing experience into this company, they were already studying how to save heating using the server that we're generating. Not super high temperature, just enough to warm up a specific area of the building. Those are small steps, and it's nice that there is an environment politic in every company. So I think just the media, and I think this is our conversation is an example. Somehow we are trying to launch this message to the people that are listening at us. So I think that I feel I'm doing something with you. Thank you for this. Something extremely good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Gio, people are just not aware. I think they're just because things have moved so fast. Even the whole AI thing was just people used to use quotation mark when they say AI up to 2 years ago, and now it's all of a sudden it's real. And for coming back to your first example, the technical solution, companies have tried to do that for years. For example, when they do network monitoring, they would either take a hash of the traffic or take every second or third or fifth packet and then only capture that because that was a way to minimize the storage capacity. But then the companies would say, well, what if you are going to discard exactly what I needed? And then also potentially in the court of law, or there's going to be some sort of consequences passed. Yeah. You know where I'm going with this. Eventually, maybe the fact that you're only collecting part of the information will cause some sort of issues down the road. So how do you approach that?
Well, that's the compliance problem. I think the problem is that, as I say, when you do forensic, the damage is already happened. So you have to dig into there are specific officers in the company that are saying, okay, this is compliance, this is not. Of course, law and rules more than often are not the perfect match to the real needs of the environment, unfortunately. But I think that if we create a standard that is not already in place, there are a lot of cybersecurity standards, and you have to stick to the standard and this and that. But it's not clear the technology that needs to be used to follow this standard. If we at least can homologate some technology to the standard, we can try to decide and people should decide, and companies should decide, which one is the company that is, and I'm not speaking with any personal interest, because I don't even name what I'm doing, and I will not. So that's my way to approach the things. So it's completely no biases in what I'm saying. I think the same way you are wearing a helmet and you want to see that this helmet as an homologation, that it's a stamp that this stick to this is it, and that. I think we should have a standard, a way that explain all the supply chain of cybersecurity, how this supply chain is managed, and what every single provider is doing to make the environment a bit better or safer. It's not just to collect everything just because, I want to remember every single time my Windows machine is writing on the registry something. And think about million asset company. I mean, every single time this happens, I think people will have problem. So I think it's something that can be managed from, I don't know if I can call it politics, but by the way, it's the way things are standardized. There are a lot of initiative in frameworks, we know. There are a lot of initiative in compliances and ISO, okay. But I think the product, no one, it's like with your car, you're measuring the level of emission your car is doing, if it's good or bad for the environment. This should depend also for the product, for the cybersecurity product.
And if we take that example, there are future technologies that are always in play. So if you're looking at the vehicles, there's electrical vehicles. They were talking about creating hydrogen engines. And then if you take the equivalence of that in computing, we have, so aside from AI, we have, quantum computing. So they have other areas that are potentially will allow us to have capabilities that we don't have and don't have now. How does it, for example, the capabilities of, and quantum computing, again, this is something that's already exists, right? But not at an individual level. Governments already have, have some quantum computing capabilities. How, in your opinion, how would it affect has the effect on cybersecurity and potentially also the ability to do what you do is, again, to remove some of the data, allow for additional computation to be done on the data and allow for, quote unquote, for the AI engine to make decisions on what needs to be, kept or whatnot?
Yeah, okay. I think this is, I think there is more than one way to answer to this question. In general, I think that to have less data to process can be an answer. But the point is that we can use the power of, I don't want to focus directly on quantum computing because it's still something in progress, but let's say supercomputers in general, yes. No? Mm-hmm. Just to synthesize your need in a model that then is crystallized in something you can use somewhere. So I think this is the first step. Second step related to cybersecurity and quantum computing is that by definition, everything is ready. Not everyone is speaking about post-quantum computing cryptography. But by definition, it means that cybersecurity is based on the time that people take to break the security.
That's right.
So it's an affirmation. So I think these two approach can be followed in parallel. Quantum computing with supercomputers will give a lot of capabilities, but of course, from one side, if you reduce the number of data they have to process, or we use supercomputing to create a model that can be used locally, so decentralized, as I say, in a mesh. And from the other side, we try to push security in a way that is not just based on time and password length and everything, but cryptography, it's all this, but why people warn about quantum computing and they don't warn about, for example, it's just a joke, but theoretically can be true. Crypto mining be a way to, reverse hash on the asset of every single person or when you visit a website. This could be also a security breach. So quantum computing, I think, will have supercomputing again. 3 times I say, I don't have to say again, but the supercomputing is something that will be useful, to really to have a result that you were expecting in years in way long less time, like minutes or hours. But the point is that if these results consolidate the logic that is unbiased related to AI, because right now it feels just scrape the internet and create an AI model, at least for the large language models I'm speaking in the specific case. The information you're bringing information, but in your pocket, but you're also bringing a lot of noise that maybe is unusable. That's why everyone is cooperating right now with companies that are promoting the different type of model related to the large language model again. So you have to say, okay, this is good, this is bad, I don't like this, that. But people give this information as granted. So from one side, I mean, we should, quantum computing and supercomputing will give to us a better understanding of what security in the specific cryptography is. It's something that should not just based on time, okay? I will never close the door of my house because the theft has not enough petrol in the car to reach the destination where my house is. This is the comparison. That's not correct. You have to lock your house anyway because some other threat can appear in some different way. And from the other side is the way we train model. That is not just a matter of supercomputing, but it's a matter of the source of the information we use to train our model. That's very important. And that's why I started to create artificial intelligence model for cybersecurity, starting from EDR telemetry, because this is something that the user was defining. I think this is a threat. I think this is a false positive. I think this is a P5. I think this is a P1. So this is the only way we can really leverage and use supercomputing. This is the way we can use AI, just giving to people the possibility to tailor, to create their own AI. And when they don't have the resource, they can demand this thing elsewhere. And I think if we don't have to build a giant model, but we have just to modify, by inception or a lot of other approach already know, model that are already consolidated, then yes, we can switch to the cloud for a while, or supercomputing, or both, and have back our model. And theoretically, the hardware of the future will be an hardware that is completely neutral, and rather than program the firmware, you will just plug and play an AI model that will know what to do according to some specific so-called prompt. And the hardware will be always fresh and new and can be programmed around that. It's not sci-fi, but I think this future is pretty much close.
Yeah, and it seems like you pick like some serious big problems in computing. You like to go after, one is you mentioned the kind of the data sprawl and the data minimization. The other one is you mentioned the kind of poisoning of AI.
100%.
And the other piece is that you mentioned the entire cybersecurity is based on cryptography, the ability of time to decipher something. Any other problems that you feel that need to be addressed? And then Gio, how many people are there? Because I'm telling you, there's 5,000, 6,000 vendors out there. They are there to solve a problem that they can sell, like they can put on a truck and sell now. What you describe is the investment that needs to go out and solve these really big problems that are cardinal and are very critical to our continuation as a species, or at least have the ability to continue our internet. How do we balance that, between, again, to create something that you can go out and make profit now and then solve those really, really big problems?
Well, just answering about the problem, I think we touched this pretty much in depth, and this is the energy consumption. I think that's a huge problem because aside pollution and all the problems that can be around, and everyone is aware.
But Gio, I thought there was some rumors about this endless source of energy, that they're working on.
Cold fusion, or what?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, maybe. I mean, I'm not the right person to say if this is going to happen or not. But again, can be anyway. I mean, would be great. And also the way that nuclear plants are managed right now. Now there are a lot of big companies trying to make safe those kind of installation. I think also, I don't remember if Bill Gates or Microsoft, but I think Bill Gates was trying to invest a lot of money into this. So I don't know how long it will take. Of course, we don't have to create dependencies between technology. Otherwise, we will just fill and enter in the gap again. I think technologies should be separated and then interact when they are ready. So that's the point. I mean, when I have a long trip, I take a very old mobile and my battery lasts 7 days. If I bring with me my beep phone, I don't want to say the brand.
Is that one of those Nokias, the legendary Nokias?
Yeah, one of those. I have one already packed and now it's becoming a trend. It's something for VIP. Now to go in a restaurant where you have to leave your mobile somewhere before entering or adding a Nokia phone. Sorry, I mentioned the brand, but you did first, so it's not well.
Well, it's just the one that pops to mind, like the iconic, the model.
Yeah, I have one for me, and I have another completely packed, and not just because I'm a nerd, but yeah. So that's true. So I mean, the main problem I think is still the energy, and another big problem is the way people rely and thinks that we have like the Pandora vase, in front of us with all the information we need, and they don't really know from where this information is coming from. If for some reason people will start poisoning the AI model, this means that a lot of tools that are based on what is, what is popular from 1 year now, let's say, would be a huge problem because everything will be faked. And third, but not least, I was writing, I'm not too much a social person in terms of social media, not personal relationship. But the point is that I say, if I leave a bot just writing for me, I can also die and people would be again happy. They don't even realize if I'm still alive or not. That's a really terrible problem because people are so used to consume screen time and to interact with people just chatting or posting that if will be a bot doing this for me, no one will care. So I think I can live forever and also change my face according to a political age. But I think the problem are several. One, energy impact in the environment. Second, lies that can be veiculated, polished, and through the model. That's why I think that the business could be find out a way to create models that are valid for every single individual or organization. Now, I know that those are my data. That's exactly what I'm doing. I know that I have my data, and I want that those data and all the reliable data will be used for teaching my model, not just to scrape the internet and find whatever people want. I find, And last but not least, it's from a human point of view. I think that at a certain point there will be. I will love all the people be on the beach partying and the rest of the people being on the social, faking each other. But they were just a machine-to-machine conversation. That's the point.
Yeah, and I think that's what's becoming. If you look at the social media, all of it is fake. I still remember like they were posting like, somebody in a private, quote unquote, private jet, and it's really, a room you rent for $50 an hour with a couple of chairs and make it look like you're, and so everybody's consuming that fake news. Now, how do you, and we were getting close on time, and I just, it's been a phenomenal conversation. Let me ask you just a couple more questions. So how do you validate whether an output from an AI engine is correct or not? It's really a black box. Yeah, meaning that if, for example, I know Wikipedia validates some information by checking the sources and seeing if the sources are reliable. But with AI, if the AI, outputs something that's completely wrong, the odds of you or anybody else trying to verify that information is very tough. Like you have no idea. And that can also be true, for example, if I Google, or again, not Google, but let's say I search your name on an AI, ChatGPT, whatever comes out is whatever comes out. How can you potentially change that? because you have no access to the back end.
Well, this is a real life problem because I was sharing a screen and say, hey, just search for Gio Pecora on a specific engine, AI engine, and we're coming a lot of nice things. I was so proud. So my partner said, you made an impact. And then she tried and say, so Joe has 2 children. And he said, what? And you never said to me. So the point is that the emotion that the first reaction is it's dangerous because, this was an assumption, I don't know from which kind of mechanism. So it was funny to see, well, as far as I know, we don't have. So, but that was the first thing. But okay, if you have to decide if you trust this engine or to trust like last time together. So, by the way, long story short, I mean, how I discriminate and I test this black box. First, I think that people are mixing too much GPT BART-like model, okay? So generative pre-trained model and transform with AI. AI is not just this. Those are model based on languages. And, this is a superstructure. And it's something that is creating somehow problems because just think that we are so used to the language that when we think with our language in mind. So how a dog can think, how another animal can think, how baby can communicate, because they don't have this superstructure. So we are downgrading our potential using the language that is absolutely something important for transferring the knowledge. But first thing is to use and produce and build a model that are related to a specific industry. I started with cybersecurity. Why? Because I come from cybersecurity, they wanted to try. And again, not naming anything, but the piece of code name of technology we put in place is named rail switch, exactly like, switching a train from one railway to another. What does it mean? That we use whatever kind of log to train our model. We were training the model and we were sure that we had the right label because the labeling comes from the detection. So if I have a spyware with this characteristic of lateral movement or whatever it is, it's already labeled by a rule. So it was an easy peasy, super nice thing. And at a certain point, when the model was installed local, for example, just try to retry Windows single log, okay? And understand if something was going on. We just moved the rail switch. You say, let's disconnect the sensor that is bringing information to the cloud, and let's see if I can have locally the same kind of alert. And it happens. So this was a black box thing, but the only solution was same behavior, same result local. So this was the real way. But to do this, you cannot have a model for everything. Like you go exactly on Google search engine, or you go on GPT or whatever tool it's available online right now, and you say, you question the engine about medicine, about cybersecurity, about science, about whatever, and I'm so I don't want. I would say annoyed from people that say, "Wow, I just discovered that ChatGPT can tell me how to create some gadget that is not legal or something like this." That's ridiculous because you can go on Google. Just take more time. It's just because you are using something that was not supposed to do this, to do something that we give you a like on the internet. So I think that the answer is yes, you need to have a deep knowledge on the vertical in which you are applying this kind of knowledge. You have to find a solution that it's able to have very reliable labels. And that's where I deployed the support vector machine that is now patented, that it's doing this job pretty much well. And that's where the things I'm playing with every single day is no longer a secret. But tomorrow, same time, I will have another conversation with University of Miami. And those guys, incredible again, I'm so happy, and you are the proof. I'm always meeting right people in my life. And I mean, they are so happy we can start working together on something related to stem cells, and artificial intelligence with this new approach. But it requires to create very straightforward verticals and dig with data that are pretty much specific. Then, when you have your model, you can use generative AI to cover the gap of missed information, because generative AI is not creating whatever. It's creating something that is pretty well clustered where you need it. So it's really creating synthetic data that can support you when you have few information or not enough information. It's kind of reinforcing the learning. And mixing three technology, in my opinion, that are, of course, the convolutional neural network that in the beginning were, started trying to decode the letter in the bank check, and now play a pivotal role in AI. So convolutional neural network, support vector machine, and generative AI together can really hit a specific vertical and try to avoid the noise and help people to have their own reliable model and also anonymize it. This means that you can share your intelligence with others that work in the same field without being worried of breach the privacy of anyone or for anything.
Yeah. And Gio, before we part ways, you are a very positive person. You seem to have attached yourself to goals that are going to be beneficial to everyone. So you are, and it's really interesting because, again, it's a lot of people are driven by different things, right? Some people are driven by recognition, driven by making money, but you seem like you've been driven specifically around the contribution to the overall society and the betterment of everyone. So you're a perfect person to ask this following question. We are, as a society, despite our challenges, I think we're better off than we were, 50, 100 years ago, definitely 200 years ago. And despite our challenges as a society, there is a positive direction we're moving into. And yes, we're having challenges, and I think it's maybe potentially because we're growing so fast, both from a technology perspective and maybe a collective, hive mind. Do you agree with me that we are, there's a positive, eventually we're going to get to the kind of nirvana where not everything is going to be solved, but we can solve a lot with technology. We already discussed a lot of technological changes. But is this something, just to finish up in a positive note, somebody like yourself, do you see like the kind of the positive shift in technology obviously working with some technology projects and so on, but there's a positive shift in where we're going?
Yes, I think that it's not just because I'm positive that I'm answering yes. I'm positive. And by the way, I am by high low as everyone. And, very often I'm sharing my thoughts with people close to me. But I am positive because I think that we will be able with this technology to give more value to people. What I wanted to say is that there will be a moment where we will really define the leadership of the future, and we are going to create a boundary between what a machine cannot do and what humans can. And this would be the definition of leadership. I think we are creating a new leadership that is able to say, okay, that's really what is missing to technology. And that's, I think, the most important, the most positive message I can give, because there will be always something we can do more, because we don't even discover. We cannot even duplicate our brain because we are still discovering it. That's the point. So this is the final message. Let's rely on our intuition, and let's try to appreciate the technology and support the technology using it wisely. This will allow us to understand the limit of technology, the boundary of technology, and try to just understand what are the problems that really requires our brain power. And Yeah, and thank you for having me because it was a great conversation.
Absolutely, Gio Pecora. Thank you very much. What's the easiest way people to learn more about your project, things that you're involved in? You mentioned you're not a huge proponent of social media, but as you mentioned, you're definitely involved in all kinds of different projects. You have your hands full on many different things. What's the easiest way for people to learn more about about your project, about what things you're doing?
I think they just can Google Gio Pecora. It's still reliable. So just Google my name.
Not ChatGPT, your name? Because you said it's good things coming up.
Model, yeah, with an updated model, is pretty much interesting. At least I have no longer a couple of children, so it's pretty much precise right now. Okay,
it's precise until it's not. We're gonna have to create, a standalone GPT model to maybe just to provide bio and backgrounds for people.
Well, by the way, something I can tell you that it's in a while I will publish the outcome of a research that I did with a company that is doing medical device to support people with epilepsy. And for me, it will be enough if people would like to have a look. And I don't need I like criticism, so whatever is good or bad, but I feel that this is the right direction. If we can support and make a bit better the quality of life for these people. So that's it.
And real feedback, not AI bot generated feedback.
Whatever. I'm just saying that there are two things right now. If you're thrilled, you're using ChatGPT when you post. And if you do a picture like this, it's for LinkedIn. So those are
good stuff. Thank you very much. Thanks for joining me today. Much appreciated. All who joined, thank you, and see you in the next episode. And until then, be safe online as well as offline, and just be mindful when you're using those GPTs out there.
100%. It was a great pleasure to stay with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.